The long game for success begins with a truth that many people do not want to hear, but every strong person eventually learns. Real success usually takes longer than you expected, longer than you hoped, and longer than your impatience wanted to allow. That delay is not a sign that you are failing. It is often a sign that you are being built. When people think about success, they imagine the highlight reel. They see it. What they do not see is the long season underneath it all. They do not see the repetition, the doubt, the boredom, the slow improvement, the setbacks, the invisible effort, the lonely mornings, the late nights, the quiet corrections, and the years of becoming before the reward ever arrived. That hidden part is not a side note. It is the real story. If you are frustrated because your life has not transformed as fast as you wanted, you are not alone. Many of the strongest people on earth have had to learn how to survive the gap between effort and result. They had to keep going when nothing seemed to move. They had to trust the process when the process looked painfully slow. They had to keep showing up before there was proof that showing up mattered. That is the long game. It is not flashy. It is not instant. It is not built for weak commitment. It is built for people who can stay honest and steady long enough to outlast their own frustration. And that is where your breakthrough begins. Not in speed. In staying power. The reason success takes so long is simple. You are not only changing outcomes. You are changing the person who creates outcomes. That is deeper work. It takes time to rewrite habits that have been repeated for years. It takes time to replace fear with confidence, distraction with focus, inconsistency with discipline, and doubt with self-trust. A lot of people want the reward without the rebuilding. They want the result without the repetition. They want the stable life without the uncomfortable phase where stability is earned. But life does not usually work that way. The outside grows after the inside changes. If your thinking is still scattered, your actions will be scattered. If your habits are still weak, your results will be weak. If your standards are still low, your future will stay small. This is not a reason to give up. It is a reason to respect the process. Your growth is not behind schedule because it is not dramatic enough. Growth often starts quietly. The first sign is not applause. The first sign is awareness. Then honesty. Then a better choice. Then another. Then another. That is how a strong future is formed. The long game asks for a different kind of strength. Not the kind that bursts forward for a week and collapses for a month. Not the kind that needs constant motivation to survive. Not the kind that only works when the energy is high. The long game asks for a stronger foundation. It asks for discipline when feelings are unstable. It asks for patience when results are delayed. It asks for humility when progress is invisible. It asks for courage when comparison is tempting. It asks you to stop measuring everything by how fast it happens and start measuring by whether it is real, whether it is lasting, and whether it is making you stronger. That shift changes everything. Because when you stop obsessing over speed, you can finally build depth. And depth is what holds success together. A shallow life can look impressive for a moment, but it breaks easily. A deep life may grow slower, but it survives storms. That is what you need. Not just success that looks good. Success that can remain good when pressure arrives. That kind of life is not made by shortcuts. It is made by deliberate, repeated effort. One of the hardest parts of the long game is learning how to live with delayed reward. Human beings naturally want feedback. We want to know that our effort matters. We want proof that the pain is producing something useful. We want to see some sign that we are not wasting our time. But delayed reward is part of nearly every meaningful success story. Seeds do not become trees overnight. Skills do not become mastery in a weekend. Trust does not rebuild in a single conversation. Confidence does not rise in one perfect morning. Character does not deepen in one inspirational moment. Everything important takes time because it is being formed carefully. This can feel frustrating, especially when you are tired of being patient. It can feel unfair when you are doing your part and the results still seem far away. In those moments, remember that the delay is not empty. Delay is often training your mind to stay committed without constant reassurance. It is teaching you how to continue when applause is absent. It is teaching you how to become the kind of person who can be trusted with something bigger later because you were faithful with something smaller now. That is a powerful lesson. If you can remain steady in the hidden season, you will be stronger in the visible season. A lot of people quit right before the long game begins to pay off. They misunderstand the silence. They think nothing is happening because nothing is visible. But the most important changes often happen before they can be measured. A person begins to think differently. They become less reactive. They stop taking every setback personally. They start building habits that were impossible a year earlier. They become more reliable, more focused, more self-aware. None of that may look dramatic to others, but it is the architecture of future success. If you keep quitting because you cannot see the result fast enough, you will keep missing the seasons where the result was being formed. That is why patience matters so much. Patience does not mean passively waiting. It means staying in motion without demanding instant proof. It means doing the work because it is right, not just because it is rewarding today. It means trusting that consistency is not invisible to life, even when it is invisible to people. The future notices. Your habits notice. Your identity notices. And eventually the results catch up. Success takes so long because the version of you who wants it must become strong enough to hold it. That part gets overlooked. Many people think the goal is only to arrive. But arrival is not enough if you do not know how to stay there. A job promotion can expose weak discipline. A business win can expose poor time management. A body transformation can expose undisciplined routines if the habits are not sustainable. A bigger income can expose financial immaturity if there is no structure underneath it. A new opportunity can expose emotional instability if confidence is too fragile. Real success is not just getting something. It is becoming the kind of person who can carry it without losing yourself. That is why the long game matters. It is not punishment. It is preparation. It is life asking, are you ready to become the person who can support the life you are asking for? If the answer is not yet, that is not shame. That is direction. It means there is more to build, more to learn, more to strengthen, more to mature. And that means you still have room to grow, which means your future is still alive. You need to make peace with the fact that slow progress is still progress. Slow progress can feel insulting when you want major change. It can make you question your effort. It can make you wonder whether you are wasting time. But slow progress has a value that fast progress does not always have. Slow progress teaches you depth. It teaches you endurance. It teaches you how to stay consistent even when the emotion is gone. It teaches you to respect the process instead of worshiping the outcome. A person who only wants quick results usually does not build much that lasts. A person who learns to honor slow progress becomes harder to shake. They stop expecting life to hand them everything in one clean moment. They become patient with their development. They understand that a strong identity grows through repetition, correction, and lived experience. So if your progress feels too slow, do not insult your own journey. Stay faithful to it. Keep track of the smaller wins. Keep noticing the habits that have improved. Keep seeing the ways you are stronger than you were before. The world may not celebrate the slow climb, but the slow climb is often what leads to the lasting summit. There is a point in the long game where motivation fades, and if you are not prepared for that, you will assume something is wrong. Nothing is wrong. Motivation was never meant to be the engine forever. It is a spark, not the whole fire. The fire survives because of fuel, structure, and commitment. That means you must learn how to continue without emotional fireworks. You must learn how to move even when the music is gone. You must learn how to honor your plan even when your mood is ordinary. This is what separates people who only talk about success from people who live it. The people who succeed long-term are not always the most excited. They are often the most committed. They know how to work on a boring day. They know how to keep their word when nobody is checking. They know how to keep building when the excitement has worn off. That is a very different level of strength. It is quieter, but more powerful. It is less dramatic, but more dependable. If you want a life that lasts, build for the ordinary days, not just the inspired ones. Build for the Tuesday morning when nobody cares. Build for the afternoon when you are tired. Build for the evening when it would be easy to slide. The ordinary days are where the future is decided. The long game also demands that you stop wasting energy on comparison. Comparison is one of the fastest ways to break your patience. You look at someone else's public success and you forget their private struggle. You see the result, but not the years. You see the confidence, but not the fear they had to master. You see the outcome, but not the loneliness, the rejection, the confusion, or the repeated effort behind it. Comparison makes your own progress feel smaller than it is. It tells you that you are late because somebody else is early. It tells you that you are behind because someone else is ahead. But life is not a race with one lane and one winner. It is a series of seasons, each with its own work. Your job is not to become someone else's timeline. Your job is to honor your own. The long game becomes easier when you stop competing with people you do not truly know and start competing with the old version of yourself. Are you more disciplined than you were 6 months ago? Are you more honest, more focused, more resilient, more patient? Those are the questions that actually matter. Improvement is the real scoreboard. One of the greatest lessons in the long game is that pressure can either develop you or damage you, depending on how you respond to it. Pressure itself is not the enemy. Many people become stronger because pressure reveals what must be improved. It exposes weak spots. It forces honesty. It teaches urgency. It reveals what you have been avoiding. If you can meet pressure with maturity, you can use it to sharpen yourself. But if you meet pressure with panic, you begin to make emotional decisions that slow your growth. The long game is about learning how to stay calm enough to think clearly when life feels loud. It is about learning how to breathe before reacting, how to pause before quitting, how to ask better questions. What is this teaching me? What needs to change? What is the next responsible move? A mature person does not waste every hard moment on self-pity. They extract value from it. They let hardship sharpen their judgment, deepen their patience, and strengthen their resolve. This does not mean they enjoy the pressure. It means they refuse to let pressure be useless. That mindset creates resilience. And resilience is one of the most valuable traits any person can build. The people who last in success are usually the ones who learn to respect boredom. Boredom is where many dreams are tested. When the novelty fades, boredom arrives. The work becomes repetitive. The same tasks return. The results still take time. The mind starts looking for escape. That is where many people slip. They assume boredom means the journey is no longer right for them. But boredom is often simply the price of repetition. Repetition is what creates mastery, and mastery is what creates dependable success. If you can stay faithful through boredom, you are rare. If you can continue when the process feels repetitive, you are building a future that others will struggle to shake. This matters in every area of life. In business, boredom can appear after the initial excitement fades. In fitness, boredom can appear when progress slows. In learning, boredom can appear when the basics have to be repeated. In personal growth, boredom can appear when the same mindset shifts need to be practiced again and again. Do not let boredom shame you. Let it train you. Let it remind you that your discipline is stronger than your need for constant stimulation. That is the long game at work. It is your ability to stay with what is worth building even when it no longer feels new. Another reason success takes so long is because trust takes time to build. Trust in yourself. Trust from others. Trust in the process. Trust in your own ability to survive the hard seasons. Trust is not created by talking about change. It is created by proof. Each time you do what you said you would do, trust grows. Each time you keep showing up, trust grows. Each time you recover instead of collapse, trust grows. Each time you choose discipline over impulse, trust grows. This trust becomes the internal support system that helps you move through future challenges with more confidence. When you trust yourself, you do not panic as quickly. When others trust you, opportunities begin to open. When you trust the process, waiting becomes less toxic. The long game is really a trust game. It asks whether you can believe in what is not yet visible. It asks whether you can stay loyal to your effort even when the reward has not arrived. It asks whether you can keep planting before you see harvest. If you can, your life becomes much stronger. If you cannot yet, the answer is still not to quit. The answer is to keep building the trust one action at a time. There is also something deeply important about learning to separate your worth from your current results. When success takes a long time, the mind can become cruel. It starts saying that because the result is not here, you must not be enough. That is a dangerous lie. Your current result is a snapshot, not your value. Your current season is a stage, not your identity. Your current delay is not proof of inferiority. It is simply a part of the path. This distinction matters because many people lose confidence while they are still in development. They punish themselves for not being where they want to be yet. That punishment does not help. It drains energy that should be used for growth. So learn to speak to yourself with strength and fairness. You can be disappointed without being defeated. You can be honest without being cruel. You can acknowledge the gap without calling yourself a failure. The long game requires that kind of emotional steadiness. It asks you to keep your self-respect intact while you are still becoming. That is how you survive the middle. That is how you avoid turning temporary struggle into permanent identity. The middle is where most people feel tired. Not at the beginning, when excitement is high. Not at the end, when the reward is visible. In the middle. The middle is where the work feels repetitive and the outcome still feels far away. The middle is where doubt starts whispering that maybe this is not worth it. The middle is where discipline gets tested because there is no clear finish line in sight. But the middle is also where real success is built. If you can survive the middle with your values intact, you become different. You become steadier, wiser, and more dangerous in the best possible way. The middle teaches you how to carry pressure without panic. It teaches you how to work without praise. It teaches you how to remain faithful when no one can predict the outcome yet. This is why so many people quit in the middle. The middle reveals whether they wanted the reward more than the process. Those who stay learn something powerful. They learn that success is not just a destination. It is a personality. It is a way of moving. It is a way of thinking. It is a way of showing up. And once you become that person, the future begins to open in ways you could not force before. A strong long game also requires letting go of the fantasy of overnight transformation. Overnight transformation makes people impatient. It makes them think that if change is not immediate, it is not real. But the most meaningful transformations are usually slow enough to feel ordinary while they are happening. One day you notice you are less reactive. Another day you notice you are more organized. Another day you notice you are not talking to yourself as harshly. Another day you notice that you are finishing things that used to remain unfinished. Another day you notice that your standards have risen. These moments may seem small, but together they are signs that your internal world is shifting. That is how real success unfolds. Not in one explosion, but in many quiet upgrades. So do not be fooled by the speed of other people's stories. You do not know the full cost behind them. You do not know the unseen work. You only know that your path is asking for patience, and patience is not a weakness when it is attached to discipline. It is a strength. It keeps you from choosing shallow shortcuts over deep growth. It keeps your foundation solid. It keeps your future from becoming unstable. If you want success that lasts, you have to become someone who can delay pleasure without losing hope. That is an enormous skill. It means you can say no to what is easy now because you care about what is strong later. It means you can work while others rest too long. It means you can save while others spend too quickly. It means you can learn while others distract themselves. It means you can practice when no one is forcing you. This is the long game in motion. It is not about deprivation. It is about direction. Every disciplined no makes a stronger yes possible later. Every boundary protects a future opportunity. Every deliberate decision adds stability to your life. You may not feel the power of this immediately, but it accumulates. And accumulation is a quiet kind of victory. It is the kind that looks small in the moment and huge later. This is why people who seem to win big often just stayed faithful longer than others expected. They did not always have more talent. They had more staying power, more patience, more willingness to endure the unglamorous middle, more respect for the work. That is a serious advantage. You will need to become comfortable with being a beginner for longer than your pride wants to. Most people hate being beginners because beginners make mistakes, ask questions, and move clumsily. But every master was once a beginner who stayed in the game long enough to improve. If you are in the beginner stage, do not insult yourself for it. Respect the learning curve. Respect the awkwardness. Respect the repetition. Respect the fact that growth requires clumsy steps before smooth ones. A lot of dreams die because people are embarrassed by being early in the process. They want to appear successful before they have actually become successful. That is a trap. Real success is built by people who are willing to look unimpressive while learning how to become effective. The beginner phase is not a punishment. It is an apprenticeship. It is the place where your skills are formed. It is where your character is tested. It is where your habits are set. If you can remain humble enough to learn and strong enough to continue, you will move through this phase faster than you think. Not by rushing, but by staying teachable. The long game also asks you to protect your energy from the wrong things. Not everything deserves your emotional investment. Not every argument deserves your time. Not every opinion deserves your attention. Not every distraction deserves your participation. If you want a successful life, you cannot spend all day feeding things that weaken you. You need to become selective. Selective with your time. Selective with your inputs. Selective with your circles. Selective with your commitments. Selective with your reactions. This is not selfish. It is strategic. A strong future requires strong boundaries. And boundaries are simply a sign that you value what you are building. When you protect your energy, you preserve the resources needed to stay in the long game. That means saying no when you should. Turning off the noise when you need to think. Avoiding habits that keep you emotionally scattered. Choosing conversations that build rather than drain. Choosing environments that support your focus. The more selective you become, the more of yourself you have available for what matters most. That is how people create room for serious progress. They stop giving their best energy away to things that have no right to it. There is no shortcut for becoming resilient. Resilience comes from being tested and not surrendering. It comes from learning how to stand back up when a result disappoints you. It comes from discovering that pain did not destroy you, even though it tried to discourage you. It comes from the days when you did not feel strong but still behaved responsibly. It comes from the quiet decision not to let one hard season become your whole identity. Resilience is not about pretending things do not hurt. It is about refusing to let hurt become your home. That distinction is everything. If you can keep moving while hurt, you become more valuable. You become someone who can support others, build something real, and handle the reality of life without collapsing every time things get rough. Resilience adds depth to ambition. It makes your dreams more believable because people can see that you are not just excited when things are easy. You are consistent when things are hard. That is the kind of person the long game rewards. At some point, you must decide that your dream is worth more than your excuses. That decision is the turning point. Excuses will always be available. They will sound reasonable. They will protect your comfort. They will tell you to wait. They will tell you that now is not the right time. They will tell you that you need more certainty, more money, more energy, more confidence, more support. But if you listen to excuses for too long, they become a lifestyle. The long game requires a different voice. A voice that says, I may not have everything, but I have enough to begin. A voice that says, I am willing to learn what I do not yet know. A voice that says, I am tired, but I am not quitting. A voice that says, I do not need perfect conditions to do meaningful work. That voice is powerful because it is honest and forward-moving at the same time. It does not lie about the difficulty. It simply refuses to bow to it. That is the mindset of someone who understands that success is built, not wished into existence. The longer you stay with the process, the more you realize that success is less about one giant moment and more about 1,000 small moments done well. 1,000 small moments of choosing discipline. 1,000 small moments of telling the truth. 1,000 small moments of continuing when quitting would have been easier. 1,000 small moments of learning, adjusting, and trying again. That is why success takes so long. It is not because you are broken. It is because what matters most is being formed carefully. You are not being delayed just to frustrate you. You are being shaped so that when the larger opportunity arrives, you can stand inside it with strength. That means every quiet choice matters. Every hard day matters. Every patient decision matters. Every time you keep your standards matters. You are not wasting your time by working in silence. You are preparing for a life that can hold more than temporary excitement. You are preparing for something stable, something useful, something real. And real success is worth the wait because it becomes part of who you are, not just what you have. So if you feel like you are moving too slowly, remember that slow is often where strength is built. If you feel like nobody notices your effort, remember that effort is still changing you even before it is visible. If you feel like the mountain is taking forever to climb, remember that the climb is making you stronger each day. The long game is not for the impatient, but it is for the committed. It is for the person who wants a life that can survive pressure. It is for the person who wants peace that does not depend on praise. It is for the person who wants to become trustworthy, resilient, focused, and capable. Keep going. Keep building. Keep correcting. Keep showing up. The results may take time, but the becoming is already happening. And that becoming is the true beginning of success. The truth is that success cannot be rushed without being damaged. You can rush a performance, but you cannot rush real growth. You can fake a moment, but you cannot fake a foundation. You can force an image, but you cannot force character. The long game protects you from building a life that looks strong but cannot survive pressure. It gives you time to become the person who can hold what you are asking for. That is why delays are not always enemies. Sometimes they are guardians. They keep you in the training room a little longer so that when the stage comes, you do not collapse under the weight of it. So stop hating the weight so much that you lose the lesson. Use the weight. Let it deepen your patience. Let it strengthen your mind. Let it sharpen your standards. Let it teach you how to stay with your own life long enough to see it change. And when doubt returns, because it will, do not treat it like a prophecy. Treat it like weather. Weather changes. Doubt changes. Mood changes. But the direction of your life is shaped by what you keep doing, not by what you briefly feel. You can feel uncertain and still act with conviction. You can feel tired and still act with discipline. You can feel behind and still act with hope. You can feel invisible and still act with purpose. That is the strength of a person committed to the long game. They do not wait for perfect inner conditions before doing the right thing. They do the right thing while inner conditions are still being repaired. That is maturity. That is resilience. That is how lasting success grows. Keep trusting that your work is not lost just because it is not loud. Keep trusting that your patience is not weakness just because it feels slow. Keep trusting that the life you are building is worth more than the immediate comfort you had to sacrifice. What you are doing now matters. What you are becoming now matters. The long game is teaching you to value the process enough to let it transform you. Stay in it. Stay loyal to it. Stay honest inside it. Your future is being formed by the person who keeps showing up today.